All right, welcome to Bot Meets World. This week we have a packed week. I'll try to get through it in 10 minutes or less, but we're going to go into Replit and how to get around all the annoyances and frustrations with deploying through Heroku. We'll train some llamas, and we'll talk about Pinecone's massive fundraise, and we'll end with Palantir. And you know that if we're talking about Palantir, it's going to get creepy. So stay tuned for that. All right, first thing I want to go into is Replit. So Replit, if you don't know, is an IDE. It is a web-based IDE, and it is an IDE where multiple coders can code at the same time. It kind of functions like a Google Docs, where you can have multiple people editing the same file at the same time, and you see each other edit. And it's pretty extensive. So you can basically do pip installs as you normally would. So they have all these packages. And you can import the various dependencies. But they've just launched this thing called Ghostwriter, which is the same kind of concept as Copilot, and you can chat with it. So I have these examples here where I ask it to add a button or to give the button a certain functionality, and it will write that code for you right here in the screen, and you can copy and paste, or as you're typing here, it will auto suggest and auto-complete for you as well. So really powerful thing. And the reason I like Replit, besides the fact that it's effectively multiplayer coding, is deploying on Heroku, no matter how good of a DevOps person you are, is still fraught with some kind of challenge. There's always some proc file missing, or some kind of batch file, or something is not there, and you spend hours banging your head against the wall trying to find the one little thing to try to deploy to the cloud. And with Replit, it is a one quick deploy. You hit this release button and that's it. Deploy your project, done. So because it's already in the cloud, it's very easy to just deploy it publicly. So hats off to Replit, not just for being so easy to use and having this multiplayer mode, and for letting you deploy in the cloud, but now also integrating this new Copilot style AI assistant. Speaking about writing code, Bard, so Google's Bard, now lets you use it as a coding assistant as well. And so I ran this head-to-head, Bard here on one tab versus GPT-4 on the other. And I basically gave them the same prompt of, hey, you're a senior engineer. We're designing this app that will read a person's resume as a PDF, look at a job description, and then write a cover letter automatically using AI. And I had both of these assistants lay out how we could go ahead making this project and then actually write some code. And I was impressed because I really thought that ChatGPT would win this battle. It's been so helpful for me as I've been coding my apps, but Bard was just better. It's a more robust answer. It really went through all the pieces of creating this app, from the architecture to the components to how we would test it as we're building it and after deployment. And then it wrote the code, and it did so much faster than GPT-4. A difference in how they operate is GPT-4 kind of writes one word at a time. So as you know, with LLMs, they kind of insert the next word based on the probability graph of that word being there after the prior word. So that's how it spits out every next word. Bard just kind of took a few seconds to think. And I guess in the background, it was running this really quickly. And then it spits out the entire answer, just pages of answers all at once. So, and it did so much faster than OpenAI's GPT-4. So hats off to Google. I'm glad to see that there's now a real horse in the race, because Google, you had me worried for a while. I do own your stock, and I was worried that your AI was behind. It probably still is behind, but at least on this matter, you are catching up. Next, training llamas. So llamas, of course, as you know, large language model from Meta, and this LlamaAcademy, open source on GitHub. Check it out. What they do is they've created this methodology of fine-tuning a llama on someone's API documentation. And the reason this is important, as I wrote about in my Substack this past week, is we're heading towards a world where apps just talk to other apps through APIs, but now it's going to be kind of AIs talking to the APIs of other AIs, right? And so they teach this large language model all about a set of APIs, and then you can then kind of speak to this model and use this to help you code against that API. The question I have here is, why do they need to fine tune this model versus just using embeddings and vectors and vectorizing all the different chunks of the API, and then just letting the Llama or GPT or whatever it is that you're using, that you're speaking to, go and find the relevant answers using those vector embeddings. So that's a question I'd have for Daniel Gross, but it seems like a really great project and something that we should all consider, because we'll all be using our GPT assistants to help us code, and we're often coding against new APIs that we've not used before. All right, next piece of news. OpenAI has rolled out its Incognito mode, which means that this is like a privacy mode. So as you're using ChatGPT, if you want to ask some questions that you might not want saved in the chat history for legal reasons or whatever other reasons, this is a way that you can do so. But a major gotcha, a major caveat is they do store these chat histories for 30 days on their servers. They say this is to monitor for abuse, and then they supposedly will erase them. I don't know. This whole AI thing gets a little shady, so use at your own risk. If I were you, I still wouldn't put really highly sensitive questions in the OpenAI GPT chatbot. It is very experimental. I would probably wait another couple of weeks or months until this can be fully vetted before using or inputting any actual sensitive questions or comments. Pinecone. We talked about Pinecone on a prior episode. Pinecone is one of those databases that is optimized for vector search. And they raised $100 million at a $750 million valuation, which is a huge raise. And the thing I don't understand with this, as with many things happening now in AI, is there doesn't seem to be any real moat or differentiation. There are plenty of other databases just like them. For example, Chroma is one of them. And if you go to LangChain, you'll see that they have a list of all the various databases that they currently sync to. And it's unclear to me why Pinecone wins. And maybe the bet here is that with enough money, you can win and take over the market that way. But I just don't understand why a company like Pinecone is able to raise this much money. All right, next is Apple. So Apple is planning to unveil an AI-powered health coach later this year. And what this will do is take all your health data that they already collect through the health app and give you somewhat semi-intelligent guidance on how you can improve your health and have better habits. I think this is really wonderful for humanity, but as usual, what's happening is that Apple's coming in and taking oxygen away from its own developers, because there are so many apps in this app ecosystem, in the iOS app ecosystem, that already do similar things or are vying to do similar things. And as usual, Apple will just come in, knock them all out, and offer its own service natively. So sad for those developers, but good on Apple for trying to make us all a bit healthier. Okay, I promised Palantir. So Palantir just unveiled, oh, this was so creepy, this Palantir AI, and it's a chat. It looks just like ChatGPT, but it's for fighting in battlefields. And if you watch their demo, the operator is literally asking this AI to help it conduct surveillance on this target. Like, what would it do? Oh, and the AI is like, oh, well, send these drones. And the operator is like, well, how would you program the drones? Where should they go? And the AI is literally advising and assisting the operator on how to engage in battle and how to engage this target, which is extremely creepy, because this is one step away from AI armies just fighting other AI armies. Right? Like at this point, there's an operator who stands there and kind of decides what to do with every piece of advice that the AI gives. But the obvious next step is to just tell the AI, hey, attack that base, and step back as a human, and the AI will just figure out the most optimal way to do as much damage as possible to that enemy, which is super creepy. So Palantir, hats off to you for winning the creepiest AI award as per usual. And that's what we'll end on here. So hope you have a great day today. Have a great week ahead. And feel free to smash that like button, as they say, which sounds so ridiculous. Just tap it gently. Please don't smash the like button. That's kind of weird.